Hey everyone, most of you watching aren't subscribed. If you haven't yet, please smash that subscribe button so that we can hit 1,000 subs. Let's do this. Okay, so here's the deal. I went on this Tinder date with a guy named Danny, and honestly, it turned out way worse than I ever thought it would. I was just expecting a normal night out, maybe some laughs, and a chance to meet someone new. But instead, it turned into one of those moments you wish you could erase from your memory forever. We matched on Tinder, started chatting casually, and after a few days of texting back and forth, we decided to meet up. He suggested a karaoke bar downtown. Now, I'm not super into karaoke, honestly. I've always avoided it because singing in front of strangers is just not my thing, but I thought, why not? It might be fun and I could maybe loosen up a bit. I wanted to give it a shot. When I arrived, Danny was already there, looking like he was ready to take over the whole place. He had this big, confident energy, the kind of guy who seems like he loves attention and wants everyone to notice him. I figured that might be okay, maybe even fun. The bar was packed and loud, with the kind of dive bar vibe where you have to yell just to be heard over the music and the crowd. We grabbed drinks and found a table near the stage. I was already a little nervous, not just because of karaoke, but because first dates always make me anxious. I wasn't expecting much, just hoping for some decent conversation and a few laughs, but Danny had other plans. He kept nudging me to sing. At first, I politely declined, saying I wasn't really comfortable with karaoke. I tried to laugh it off, hoping he'd drop it, but he was really persistent. Way more than I expected. He kept insisting, "Come on, just one song. You'll love it," and wouldn't take no for an answer. Eventually, I gave in, figuring I could just do a quick, easy song and then be done with it. I picked something slow and mellow, a song I vaguely knew the words to, and got on stage. My heart was pounding. So hard I thought everyone could hear it. The lights, the crowd, the pressure, it was overwhelming. Then it happened. Halfway through the song, my voice cracked. Big time. Like that awkward, uncontrollable crack where you want to disappear. Instantly. I froze for a second, mortified, and just wanted the floor to swallow me whole, but instead of being supportive or at least kind, Danny burst out laughing. Not a little chuckle, but a loud, obnoxious laugh that carried across the room. People nearby started noticing and laughing too. I felt every eye on me and my cheeks burned with shame. I wanted to run off the stage, but I had to finish the song. After it was over, I got off the stage feeling like a total joke. My confidence was shattered. I just wanted the night to end and for the embarrassment to stop haunting me. But that was just the beginning. Later, we ended up back at Danny's place. I was hesitant, but I didn't want to make a scene. Then, out of nowhere, Danny pulled out his phone and started showing me something. It was the video. The entire thing, my voice cracking, my awkward stance, the moment everyone laughed. And the worst part? I hadn't even known he was recording me. Then he told me he'd already uploaded it to YouTube and shared the link with all his friends and family. Like it was some kind of trophy. He said it was just a joke, that I needed to learn to take a joke, and that everyone loves a good laugh. I was frozen. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told him I didn't want anyone to see it. Begged him to take it down, but he just laughed again. This time a cruel, mocking laugh. It wasn't funny anymore. That moment crushed something inside me. It wasn't just a dumb karaoke fail. It was someone I trusted weaponizing my embarrassment and turning it into public humiliation. Someone who was supposed to be a date, a potential partner, had turned into a bully in the worst possible way. I left his apartment that night feeling completely broken, betrayed, and sick to my stomach. I couldn't stop thinking about how many people had probably already watched the video, laughing at me, sharing it around. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and deeply ashamed. Over the next few days, I tried everything to get the video taken down. I reported it to YouTube, but their process was slow and frustrating. Every time I checked, the video was still there, and the view count kept climbing. People I barely knew started messaging me, "Hey, saw you singing, that was hilarious." Or, "You should sing more often, LO." They pretended to be checking in, but really it was just fuel to the fire. It became this awful cycle where I wanted to hide, to disappear from the internet and the world, but also had to face the fact that this private, humiliating moment was now public entertainment. I thought about telling my close friends and family what happened, but I felt embarrassed. Like somehow this was my fault for going on a date, for singing, for letting my guard down. It's hard to admit when someone else hurts you in a way that makes you feel small and powerless. Eventually, I blocked Danny everywhere, on my phone, on social media, on Tinder. I deleted my profile and tried to move on, but the damage was already done. That stupid karaoke video wasn't just a bad memory, it was proof that someone I trusted could turn on me, and that my humiliation could be shared with the world without my permission. I still think about that night sometimes. How quickly things can go from fun to awful, from lighthearted to cruel. How the person you think you're getting to know can reveal a side of themselves you never wanted to see. And the worst part, Danny never seemed to regret any of it. To him, it was just a joke, nothing more. No apology, no second thought. No care for the person he'd hurt. So yeah, that's the story. A Tinder date gone wrong, where karaoke turned into a nightmare I never asked for, and a harsh reminder that sometimes people use your trust to break you instead of build you up.
So, I'm gonna tell you about the weirdest dating situation I ever got myself into. Honestly, even now, I don't quite know how to explain it without sounding like I'm making things up. But it really happened, and it still messes with my head sometimes. Here goes. It started when I matched with this girl named Linda on Tinder. Her profile was pretty chill, no flashy filters or overly staged photos. Just casual selfies, a few coffee shop shots, and some pictures with friends at outdoor events. Her bio said she was into hiking, indie music, and dogs, which felt pretty normal and relatable. We messaged a bit, some light banter, and it was easy to talk to her. After a few days, we agreed to meet up. Our first date was simple, just grabbing some tacos at this small downtown spot. Nothing fancy, but the place had good vibes. Linda was funny and easygoing, and I honestly thought we clicked right away. After eating, we took a walk through a nearby park, just chatting about random stuff, music, travel, life in the city. The night went well, and for a moment, I thought maybe I'd met someone cool. But that's when things started to get weird. A few days later, Linda mentioned offhand that she had a complicated past with some messy relationships. I didn't press her for details, because who wants to dive into someone's drama right away? But I got this vague feeling there was more beneath the surface. Something she wasn't telling me. We kept seeing each other, usually low-key hangouts. Twice a week or so. No big plans. Just dinners, walks, and chilling at her place. It all felt casual, but I started noticing little things that didn't add up. One night, while scrolling through Instagram, I saw a tagged photo of Linda at some party. She was smiling, but surrounded by a group of guys. At first I didn't think much of it, but then one guy caught my eye. He looked really familiar. I paused and studied the picture for a minute. There was something unsettling about it. Curiosity got the better of me, so I did some digging. I found out that the guy was her boyfriend, or maybe ex. I wasn't sure, and here's where it started to twist. Turns out, Linda was involved with multiple guys, not just one. And not just random guys. These men were all connected to each other in ways that made my head spin. One was the boyfriend, the main one, I guess. Another was his cousin, a third was his brother, and the fourth was his best friend, who was basically family. All these guys knew each other, and all were somehow involved with Linda. I couldn't wrap my head around it. How does someone get tangled up with 4 different men who are all related? It felt like something out of a soap opera, but this was real life. I kept trying to make sense of it without letting myself get caught up in the drama. Maybe it wasn't as complicated as I thought. But then I noticed Linda always dodged questions about the main guy. Whenever I asked about him, she'd change the subject or say they were just complicated. She talked about moving away or keeping things casual, but never gave me any clear answers. Then came the night that really messed me up. Linda invited me over, saying she wanted to show me something. When I got there, I thought it'd be just the two of us. But then, one by one, the four guys showed up throughout the evening. They all acted like they knew each other well, but there was this weird tension in the air, like they were all waiting for something to happen, but trying not to show it. Linda acted like everything was totally normal, laughing and chatting like they were all just friends hanging out. But I could feel the undercurrent. There was definitely some kind of unspoken rule or secret they were all guarding. What really got to me was how they looked at each other. Not the casual looks you'd expect between friends, but these sharp, almost hostile glances, like they were silently challenging one another or waiting for someone to slip up. It was uncomfortable, like watching a ticking time bomb. That night, I realized this whole situation was way more twisted than I'd ever imagined. Afterwards, I tried to step back. I didn't want to be part of this messy, toxic web or hurt anyone, but it wasn't that simple. Linda didn't disappear from my life. She kept showing up, and so did the guys. I couldn't avoid them entirely because they were everywhere, in the same friend groups, the same hangouts, the same bars. One day, I heard from a mutual friend something that broke the whole thing open for me. Apparently, the main guy, the one Linda was with, was actually in the same family as her, like a direct family connection. I didn't want to believe it at first. It sounded insane. But when I thought back to how secretive Linda was, and how odd those guys' interactions had been, the pieces started fitting together in a really disturbing way. It felt like I'd been watching some toxic, broken family drama unfold right in front of me. And somehow I got tangled up in the middle. I felt trapped, like I was part of a story that didn't make sense and that I never signed up for. Eventually, I cut contact. I stopped answering Linda's texts, stopped going to her place. I tried to remove myself from the mess, but even now, months later, I still see them around town, Linda and those guys still there, still connected in ways I don't fully understand. I don't know what happened to them after I left. Honestly, I'm glad I'm out of it. It was a nightmare disguised as a casual dating story, something you don't expect to stumble into when you're just swiping on Tinder, looking for a simple connection. It's the kind of messed up, tangled web that makes you question what you thought you knew about people and relationships. A weird, toxic drama I hope never to be part of again.
So I'm gonna tell you about the weirdest, most uncomfortable Tinder date I've ever been on. It's still kinda messing with me, and honestly, I still don't know what to make of it. It started when I matched with this guy named Brendan. He seemed normal enough on his profile, casual photos of him hiking, chilling at a cafe, that kind of stuff. His bio was short but friendly, nothing crazy. We messaged for a few days, and it felt easy. No pressure, just normal talk. Then came the first date. We agreed to meet at this tiny coffee shop in this artsy neighborhood I liked. When I showed up, I was expecting just him, one-on-one, like a normal date. But instead, Brendan showed up with his mom. Like, his actual mom. She was probably in her late 50s or early 60s, a little older than I expected, but okay. I figured maybe she wanted to meet the person her son was dating, and I thought maybe it was just a one-time thing. I mean, some families are like that, but then as the date went on, things got uncomfortable fast. First, his mom was super involved in the conversation, like, way more than you'd expect. She kept interrupting Brendan, finishing his sentences, and giving me these long stares that made me feel like she was trying to figure me out or something. Brendan just smiled nervously and let it happen. The thing that really threw me off was how she interacted with Brendan. At one point, she leaned over and kissed him on the mouth. Yeah, full on. Like the kind of kiss you might expect between romantic partners, but it was from his mom. It lasted a few seconds, and she pulled back like it was totally normal. I froze. My brain was screaming, but I couldn't move or say anything. Brendan just laughed awkwardly and tried to act like it was no big deal. I didn't know what to think. I tried to focus on the coffee, tried to make small talk, but that image stuck in my head for the entire date. I left feeling weird, but I told myself maybe it was just their family dynamic and some people have different ways of showing affection. I gave Brendan the benefit of the doubt because, honestly, I'd never seen anything like that before. And I didn't want to be judgmental. Then came the second date. I thought for sure it'd just be Brendan, but no. His mom was there again. Same coffee shop, same awkward energy, except this time it was even worse. She sat right next to him and held his hand across the table. When I looked at them, she winked at him like they shared some secret. Throughout the date, she kept touching him, rubbing his arms, smoothing his hair, and every once in a while, that same kiss on the mouth happened. Like clockwork. I remember thinking that if I tried to say something, Brendan would probably get defensive or just make a joke to change the subject. So I said nothing and just tried to get through it. By the third day, I was honestly starting to freak out a little. We decided to go for a walk in the park near my apartment. I assumed it would be just the two of us, but no surprise, his mom was there again. This time she brought a picnic basket and spread out a blanket like they'd done this before. I kept looking around, trying to find a way to escape or make an excuse to leave, but Brendan acted like this was totally normal. Like they'd been dating as a trio or something. At one point during the picnic, his mom started telling me stories about Brendan's childhood, some cute stuff, but the way she described things, it felt like she was trying to remind me that she was an important part of his life. Which is fair, I guess, but the way she said it felt possessive. And then the kiss happened again, not just one kiss. Several times during that afternoon, she leaned over and kissed him on the mouth. Not on the cheek or forehead, the mouth. And Brendan never pulled away. In fact, he seemed to lean into it. I felt frozen and nauseous. I couldn't focus on anything except the weird, sick feeling growing in my chest. After that day, I stopped replying to Brendan's messages. I tried to ignore his calls. I just wanted to get away from the whole thing, but here's the thing, a few days later, I ran into his mom outside my apartment building. She was waiting on the stoop like she knew I lived there. She smiled and said something that made me feel like she wanted me to know she wasn't just Brendan's mom, that she was watching. Waiting, I didn't respond. I just walked inside and locked my door. Since then, I've deleted my Tinder. I haven't responded to any messages from Brendan or his mom. And every time my phone buzzes, I jump, hoping it's not them. I don't know what kind of relationship Brendan and his mom have, or if there's some kind of weird package deal I never wanted to be a part of. All I know is that it was the strangest, most uncomfortable dating experience I've ever had, and honestly, I don't think I'll ever forget it.
I don't really know why I'm writing this, but it's been on my mind for weeks. And if I don't get it out, I think I'm going to lose it. It all started about a month and a half ago. I matched with this girl named Kira on Tinder. Her profile wasn't flashy or over the top, just a few pictures of her at an art gallery, one with a dog, and another that looked like it was taken in her kitchen. Nothing unusual, but something about her gave me weird vibes right from the start. Maybe it was the way her smile looked forced, or how her eyes didn't quite meet the camera. I'm not sure. We started talking for a couple of days. The conversation felt off, like she was avoiding certain topics, or asking strange questions that didn't make much sense. I got a feeling in my gut that something wasn't right. I decided to ghost her before meeting, just to be safe. After that, I thought it was over. I moved on and tried to forget about it. But then, about a week later, I started noticing small things missing from my apartment. At first, I thought I was just forgetting where I put stuff, like my headphones, a favorite mug, a set of keys. Nothing major, but annoying. I told myself I was just tired or stressed. Then, a few days after that, something bigger went missing. Small wallet I kept in my nightstand drawer. It had some cash and a couple of important cards. I was sure I had put it there, but it was gone. I tore apart my apartment looking for it, but no luck. That's when things started to feel really wrong. One night, I was at my friend Jason's place, telling him about the missing things and how paranoid I was starting to feel. He was pretty chill about it, suggesting maybe I just left stuff at work or somewhere else. But then he showed me something on his phone that stopped me cold. Jason had taken a screenshot from Tinder, not of my profile, but of Kira's. Her account was still active. She was still swiping, messaging, whatever. But the weird part was the new profile photo she had posted. It was a selfie, taken in a room that looked exactly like my bedroom, and in the background of that photo, sitting on my bed, was me fast asleep. I stared at the picture for what felt like minutes. The details were clear enough. My messy bed, the same blanket I use, my phone on the nightstand. I looked completely unaware, completely vulnerable. I told Jason to send me the screenshot. I zoomed in, trying to make sense of it. How had she gotten in my apartment? When? Why was she still active on Tinder, using my place as a backdrop? The thought that someone had been in my home, watching me sleep, messing with my stuff, made my skin crawl. I immediately changed all my locks and installed some security cameras around the apartment. Even though I usually thought that was overkill, I didn't want to be wrong about this. For the next few days, I checked the footage obsessively. No sign of Kira or anyone else breaking in. No suspicious activity at all. The cameras only showed me coming and going, or me asleep at night. But then I realized something even worse, the missing items. Every time something went missing, it happened on a night when I had passed out early, completely exhausted, and the cameras showed me sleeping. No footage showed anyone entering, but maybe she had a way in I couldn't see. I told a couple more friends about it, and one suggested I check the security of my windows and doors. I went over every lock, every latch. Everything was intact. Nothing was broken or forced. I started thinking maybe Kira wasn't physically in my apartment. Maybe she was taking those photos elsewhere, setting up a room to look like mine, and somehow tricking me. But that seemed to elaborate. Then came the creepiest part. One morning, I woke up and found my phone missing again, the same phone I had by my bed when I fell asleep. This time, I was awake when it happened. I remember looking away for just a few seconds, and then my phone was gone. But the camera footage showed no one entering or leaving. I was freaking out. I felt trapped, like someone was inside my space, but invisible. That's when I finally told my landlord about the missing stuff and my suspicions. She told me no one else had complained about break-ins or weird stuff in the building, but she promised to have maintenance check all the locks and windows again. A few days later, I got a text from an unknown number. No words, just a picture. It was a close-up of my face, taken while I was sleeping. I deleted the message and blocked the number, but the panic hit me hard. I never responded to Kira again. I deleted the Tinder app and swore off dating for a while. To this day, I still don't know how she got those photos or how she managed to be in my apartment without leaving any sign. I still check my locks obsessively. I sleep with the lights on, and sometimes, when I'm alone, I catch movement in the corner of my eye, or hear my phone buzz with no notification. I don't know what she wanted or why she targeted me, but I know I don't want to find out.
I went on a date with this guy named Ken a few months ago. We matched on a Tuesday, started talking that night, and he asked me out by Thursday. Pretty normal pace. He seemed polite, not overly pushy, and his profile was kind of boring in a safe way. 2 pictures of him hiking, one of him in front of a food truck, and a short bio about being into dogs and indie films. Just normal enough to not raise any flags. We decided to meet at this little diner downtown that I like. Kind of old school. Decent fries, quite enough to actually talk. When he walked in, I immediately recognized him from his photos. Same clothes even, which I thought was a little odd. But maybe it was just his go-to-date outfit or something. He gave off kind of a soft, quiet energy. Seemed a little awkward at first, but not in a bad way. I chalked it up to nerves. We sat and talked for about an hour. It was mostly surface-level stuff. Favorite movies, what kind of music we liked, random stories from college. Honestly, I was starting to get comfortable. Nothing exciting, but he seemed harmless. Then, right in the middle of talking about his job, he called me the wrong name. He said Leah. He caught himself instantly and apologized. Said it was his sister's name, but it slipped out because they'd been texting earlier. I just kind of laughed it off and said it was fine because, honestly, it didn't feel malicious. It just felt weird, but it stuck in the back of my mind. The way he said it didn't sound like an accident. It was like it came out naturally. Like he really thought that was my name. I didn't bring it up again, and the rest of the date went on without anything else strange happening. We said goodbye outside, no kiss or hug or anything, just a wave. I went home and tried to forget about the name slip, but around midnight I gave in and Googled Leah just to kill the curiosity. I typed in Leah missing person. I don't even know why. Honestly, something about how he said it just felt off, like it had weight behind it, and that's when I found it. A missing person report from a small town, 2 states away. Leah Carson, 24 years old, last seen 6 months ago. Brown hair, green eyes. 5'6", and her photo, I swear to God, looked exactly like me. Not similar. Not she could be your cousin or anything like that. No, it looked exactly like me. Same nose, same hair, same awkward mole near the chin. The photo was old, sure, but not blurry. It was like someone took a photo of me from a few years ago and slapped a different name on it. I sat there staring at it for what felt like forever. The description even matched little things I wouldn't expect a missing person report to note, like a small scar on the forehead, the way her right eyebrow arches more than the left. Stuff you wouldn't normally notice unless you'd really studied someone's face. I refreshed the page, convinced it was some kind of coincidence, but it stayed there. Her name, her face, my face. I dug deeper, searched forums, Reddit posts. The case had gotten some attention when she first went missing, but it went cold quickly. Last seen leaving a restaurant after a date. No confirmed sighting since. The guy she was with? Never identified. All they had was a vague description from a waitress who said he had short brown hair, average build, wore a dark green hoodie. That's what Ken had been wearing. I went back and checked our Tinder messages. He hadn't said much. No last name. No Instagram or other socials. Just simple stuff like, looking forward to meeting you, or I think you'll like this diner. I realized I didn't know anything about him. Not where he lived, not where he worked, just that he claimed to be in software and liked dogs. I tried to search his first name and phone number. Nothing. No LinkedIn. No public records, no trace of him anywhere. Even his Tinder profile was gone by the next day. Like he deleted it the moment we said goodbye. At this point, I was stuck between thinking I was overreacting and fully spiraling. I didn't want to go to the police and say, hey, I went on a date with a guy who called me the wrong name and now I think I might be a missing person from another state. But I couldn't sleep for days. I kept checking the mirror, wondering if maybe I'd forgotten something about my own past. Wondering if I was Leah. I looked at old photos of myself, compared them to the one in the report. I called my mom just to hear her voice. Everything was fine, nothing had changed. I was still me. But that picture, it never stopped bothering me. Then, one night, I woke up around 2 a.m. and checked my phone out of habit. There was a message from an unknown number. It just said, told you I'd find you again. No name, no context. No other messages. The profile photo was blank. The number didn't link to anything. I didn't reply. I blocked it immediately. I checked all my doors and windows. Everything was locked. I sat on the floor of my bedroom, with the lights on until sunrise. Nothing's happened since then. No more messages, no strange sightings. Nothing out of place. But I deleted Tinder, threw out the clothes I wore that night, and changed my number a few days later just in case. I never found more info on Leah. Her case is still open. No leads. No suspects. Just gone. And sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I still half expect to see someone else staring back.
I matched with Stella late one Thursday night when I couldn't sleep. I was half scrolling, half watching TV, not expecting anything to come of it. Her profile stood out, though not because of the photos, which were simple, no filters, but because of her vibe. She had this stillness in her pictures, not posing, not smiling, just staring straight into the camera. Her bio just said, "Watching is believing." I figured it was either a weird joke or she was just trying to sound mysterious, but I swiped right anyway. We matched instantly, We started chatting right away. She wasn't flirty, not in the usual way, no small talk. Her first question was, if I'd ever felt like my reflection didn't match me. I laughed and said something like, yeah, every morning. She didn't respond to that, just followed up by asking if I wanted to come over that weekend. No offer to meet in public first, no coffee shop suggestion. She said she preferred being at home, that she felt more herself there. Normally, that would have been a red flag, but I don't know. Something about the way she wrote. How confident she seemed. I said yes. She sent me her address, and I showed up Saturday night around 8. It was this older brick apartment building, just outside the city, tucked behind a grocery store. The hallway smelled faintly of bleach and incense, and her unit was at the end. Apartment 306. She opened the door before I even knocked, like she'd been standing there. Same as the photos, but more intense in person. She wore all black, like literally head to toe, and her eyes were even darker up close. Her apartment was strange. The second I walked in, I noticed the mirrors. Every wall had them. Full-length ones, vintage hand mirrors, huge old vanity-style ones. Some were cracked, some were spotless. I thought maybe she collected them, or maybe it was just some kind of aesthetic thing. I told her it was cool, weird, but cool. She said nothing about it, just nodded and walked deeper into the apartment. The lighting was soft, almost too dim. There weren't any normal ceiling lights, just floor lamps and a few flickering candles. I sat on her couch, and she sat across from me, not next to me, which kind of threw me off. We talked for a while, though I don't remember half the conversation. She asked questions that didn't really feel like questions, more like tests. Stuff like, have you ever seen something in the mirror that wasn't there when you turned around? Or, do you think reflections are just copies or something more? I answered as best I could, half joking at first, then a little more serious when I noticed she never laughed. Just sat still, watching me. Not creepy exactly, but definitely unsettling. Her eyes didn't really blink that much, and she always seemed slightly distracted, like she was watching something behind me. At one point, I asked if she wanted to put something on music, a movie, anything. She said she didn't own a TV or a speaker. Said she preferred the quiet, but it wasn't quiet in there. Not really. There was this faint humming sound, like feedback or electricity or a broken fan. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Eventually she offered me a drink. I followed her into the kitchen, and that's when I noticed, even in the kitchen, there were mirrors. One above the stove, one on the fridge, another small one hanging off a cabinet door by a chain. I made a comment about it, but she ignored me. When we sat back down, I started feeling off, like I wasn't fully connected to what I was doing. My limbs felt slightly delayed. My arm would move, but I'd catch it a half-second late in the mirror, not like a glitch, just a lag. And the weirdest part was that it wasn't always my reflection I was seeing. Not exactly. In the mirror, closest to me, I saw myself, but the posture was wrong. My legs were crossed when I looked, but they weren't crossed in real life. My reflection scratched its face, even though I hadn't moved. It was me, but it wasn't doing what I was doing. And worse, it was copying her. I looked over at Stella. She was sitting in a very specific way, one hand on her knee, the other resting on her chin. My reflection was doing the same thing, perfectly. I asked her, kind of half laughing, half nervous, what was going on with the mirrors. She just smiled and said, "Don't worry. It always takes the first guy a while to adjust." That sentence hit me so hard I couldn't even respond. First guy? First what? I stood up, suddenly way more alert, and turned toward the door. But there wasn't a door. There was a mirror, a huge one, stretching from floor to ceiling. It had been a normal door before. I swear it had. But now it was just a reflection of me, breathing fast, eyes wide, looking like I was seconds from freaking out. I turned around to ask her what the hell was going on, but she was gone, just her chair, empty but, in every mirror, she was still, sitting there, smiling. I backed away. I turned in a full circle, trying to find something that wasn't a mirror. But every single wall, even the floor in places, was covered, and the reflections had started to drift out of sync. My head would turn left, but the version of me in the mirror would turn right. My hand would stay still, but the reflection was reaching forward, touching the glass. In some mirrors, I wasn't even in them anymore, just Stella, sitting there, like she'd never moved. Eventually, I found the door. It was in the same place it had been when I arrived, but it didn't look like a door anymore. It looked like another mirror. I tried pushing it. Nothing. I tried screaming. Nothing came out. It was like the sound just got swallowed up in that weird humming dot at some point. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in my bed. Just like that. No bruises, no blood. Phone plugged in. 3:14 a.m. I thought maybe I'd dreamed the whole thing, until I checked my photos. There was one new one, not taken by me. It was blurry, dark, and clearly from inside her apartment. A mirror selfie, but not of me, of my reflection, sitting the exact way she had been, one hand on the knee, the other on the chin, just staring.
I don't really know where to start, but maybe that's part of the reason I'm writing this, just to get it out. Because it's been sitting in the back of my head for weeks, and it's messing with my sleep and just everything. So I met this guy named Jerome on Tinder, pretty normal profile. Kind of low-key. He had photos at some food truck festival, one hiking pic, and one of him at a record shop that looked vaguely artsy but not pretentious. He had this calm vibe in our messages. Not pushy or weird, which already made him stand out. We talked for about a week and then went out for tacos. It was nothing groundbreaking, but it was easy, comfortable, and I liked that he didn't talk over me or make the conversation all about himself. We hung out a couple more times after that. Coffee, a bookstore, then one night we grabbed late night takeout and just walked around for a bit. I wouldn't say sparks were flying or anything, but I liked being around him. He didn't seem like someone who had some secret intention. Just easygoing and a little quiet. I wasn't head over heels or anything, but I was open to seeing where it went. So one night he invited me over. Nothing dramatic, he just said he was cooking and asked if I wanted to come by. I remember he mentioned his apartment was a little weird because it was an old building that had been converted from something else. I didn't think much of it. People say stuff like that all the time when they want to seem quirky or interesting. When I got there, it was actually kind of cool looking. A corner unit, top floor, brick walls, weird narrow hallway with like 7 doors on one side, all painted the same off-white color. Kind of like a hotel from the 70s that got half renovated and then abandoned mid-project. He had a small kitchen near the entrance, and the living room was clean, just sparsely decorated. No TV, just books and a small Bluetooth speaker playing. Ambient music when I walked in. The night was normal at first. He made pasta, we ate, we laughed at some dumb story he told about setting off a smoke alarm in his old place. Everything felt fine. But as the night went on, I started noticing little things. The first thing was the door to his bedroom. I went to use the bathroom down the hall and noticed that the doorknob on his bedroom had a lock, but it was on the outside, like kind of lock you use on a shed or a storage unit, not your own bedroom. That made me pause. I remember staring at it and just thinking, that's weird, but I didn't say anything. I figured maybe it was flipped during installation or something, but then I noticed that every door in the hallway had the same setup. All the locks were on the outside. And not just regular doorknobs, actual sliding bolts, like someone had intentionally made sure those doors could only be locked from the hallway. It gave me this weird feeling in my chest I couldn't shake. Like I was walking through a place I wasn't supposed to see. I went back to the living room and tried to act normal. I picked up my phone to check the time dead. Completely black. That was strange because I remembered it being at like 40% when I got there. I asked if I could charge it and he said, yeah, no problem, and handed me a charger. I plugged it in and it just didn't charge. No light, no buzz, nothing. I thought maybe his outlet was busted, but I tried another one. Same thing. I told him I should probably get going since it was getting late. That's when he smiled just a little too slowly and said something. Like the building had a lot of quirks, especially the front door. He said it sometimes jammed and you had to really lean into it to get it to open. I said I'd give it a shot and he nodded but didn't follow me. I walked down the hall, past those identical doors again and got to the front door. I turned the handle. It wouldn't budge. Not locked. Just stuck like it was sealed shut. I pressed harder, nothing. I leaned into it the way he mentioned. Still nothing. I turned back and looked at him. He hadn't moved from the couch. That's when I heard it, a whisper, coming from down the hall. From behind one of the locked doors, it was low, muted, but definitely human. It wasn't the kind of sound your brain fills in when you're scared. This was real, just a few words. I couldn't make them out. But they were fast, like someone urgently trying to talk without being heard. I looked back at Jerome. He was just staring at me, calm, like he'd been waiting for me to hear it. I asked if someone else was here. He shrugged. Didn't say anything. Just kept sitting there like he was waiting to see what I'd do next. I walked back down the hall, slowly, heart going crazy. I stopped at the third door, the one I thought I'd heard the voice behind. The lock was bolted. Tight. I didn't touch it. I just stood there, listening. Nothing now. Total silence. I turned back to the living room and said something about needing to go, needing to be up early. He finally stood up and just watched me. Didn't follow. Didn't offer to help with the door. I tried it again. Still stuck, so I went back down the hall and quietly slipped into the bathroom, locked the door from the inside, and opened the window. It barely moved. Like it was sealed with paint or something. I jammed it as hard as I could. Eventually it cracked open just enough for me to squeeze out onto the rusty fire escape. My jacket got caught, but I didn't care. I climbed down 2 stories and landed hard in a gravel alley behind the building. I ran the whole way to the gas station at the corner. The guy behind the counter let me use his charger, and once my phone powered on, I called a friend to come get me. I didn't go to the police. I know I probably should have. But I had no proof and I didn't even know what I'd report. No crime, just a locked door and a dead phone. I tried looking up the building a few days later, couldn't find any listing for it. I even drove by once and the entire place looked abandoned. Boarded up. Like no one had lived there for years. I haven't heard from Jerome since. His Tinder profile is gone. Not unmatched, just gone. No name, no chat history. Like it never existed. That's it. That's the last I'll ever see of him. And I'm fine with that.
I don't really know how to start this, and honestly, I don't even know why I'm writing it down. Maybe just to try and make sense of it. Maybe I just need anyone to tell me I didn't lose my mind. So a few weeks ago, I matched with this girl on Tinder. Her name was Emily. She wasn't overly flashy, no crazy bio or anything. Just a few casual pics, one at a bookstore, one walking a dog, another where she looked like she was drinking wine on a rooftop or something. She looked normal, seemed smart, cute, but not like Instagram model level. It was the kind of profile that made you feel like she was actually real, that she wasn't just another person trying to waste your time or sell you something weird. We messaged back and forth for a couple of days. She asked normal stuff, what I did for work, what kind of music I was into, whether I liked dogs or cats. It didn't feel forced. She was easy to talk to. We decided to meet up for drinks last Friday. She picked a place, this little bar I'd never heard of, kind of tucked into a quieter part of the city. It had these red string lights everywhere and weird art on the walls. One of those spots that feels like it should be packed, but it was half empty the whole night. Still, I didn't think much of it. She showed up exactly on time. She looked just like her pictures, except there was something different about her in person. Not bad different, just, I don't know. Her eyes felt a little intense when she looked at you for too long. Not like she was staring, more like she was watching. We had a couple drinks, laughed about something dumb, a bartender said. At some point she asked if I wanted to grab food, but we never actually did. I don't remember deciding to go anywhere else, but I know we left the bar together. That's where things get weird. The next thing I remember is waking up in my apartment. No hangover, no headache, just this foggy emptiness like I skipped a chunk of time. My phone was completely dead, even though I know it was at like 70% the night before. It wouldn't turn on, even when I plugged it in. I got up and realized all my clothes from the night before were in a pile on the floor, like I had taken them off in a rush. Then I saw the blood. It was dry, but it was definitely blood. Not a little nosebleed, or a paper cut either. My hands were stained, especially around the nails. There was some on my shirt, too. Not a lot, but enough to freak me out. I checked myself in the mirror, but there weren't any cuts. Nothing hurt. No bruises. It wasn't my blood. I tried not to panic. I threw my clothes in a trash bag and just stood there for a while, trying to remember anything from the night. Nothing came back. No flashes, no images. It was like I had just been edited out of my own memory. I got my backup phone out of a drawer and tried to log into Tinder. Emily's profile was gone. Not unmatched, like totally wiped. It was like she'd never existed. No chat history, no profile picture, nothing. Just gone. At that point, I started thinking maybe someone drugged me. Maybe it was her, maybe someone else. I figured I'd retrace my steps. So I went back to the bar. I even wore the same jacket just in case the staff recognized me. The guy behind the counter looked confused when I asked if he remembered me from Friday. He said he didn't. I described Emily. Still nothing. I asked if they had security cameras. He said they did, but they weren't working that night. Next, I tried a few other spots in that area, thinking maybe we'd gone somewhere after the bar. A diner, a small convenience store, even a gas station. I checked everywhere I could think of. No one remembered seeing us. I even checked my bank app, no charges at all, after the bar. The drinks were the last transaction. I tried calling a couple friends just to talk, maybe clear my head, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. What was I even going to say? Hey, I went on a date with a girl who doesn't exist, woke up covered in someone's blood, and now everything around that night is erased. I sounded insane, even to myself. The next day, I noticed something else. A small puncture mark on my forearm. Just one, like a needle prick. It wasn't red or irritated, just a tiny dot that wasn't there before. I stared at it for an hour, maybe longer. I couldn't stop thinking about that missing time, the blood, and the weird cold feeling that hadn't gone away since I woke up. I tried searching her pictures. You know how sometimes you can reverse image search people? I uploaded one of her profile pics that I'd screenshotted early on. Nothing came up. Not a single match. It was like the photo didn't exist anywhere else on the internet. I gave it a few more days, checked back on the bar's page, tried talking to the guy again. Still no luck. Then yesterday, I got a call on my backup phone, an unknown number. I answered, but no one said anything. Just faint breathing for maybe 10 seconds. Then the call ended. I called back immediately, but it went straight to a dead tone. Later that night, I heard knocking on my apartment door. 3 knocks. That's it. Not loud, not frantic, just like someone knew I was inside and was waiting. I looked through the peephole, but no one was there. The hallway was empty. I opened the door anyway, just to be sure, and saw nothing but silence. I haven't slept much since. I started digging online, trying to find anyone else with a similar story. I found a couple weird Reddit posts about people matching with girls who vanished the next day, but nothing solid. Nothing like this. No one else seems to have woken up with blood on their hands. I don't know what happened that night. I don't know who Emily was, or if that was even her real name. Maybe I was drugged. Maybe I hallucinated the whole thing. But someone or something was in my apartment that night. And whatever it was, I don't think it's done with me yet. I've been keeping the trash bag with the clothes. I can't bring myself to throw it out. Part of me thinks I should take it to the police, but I'm too scared of what they'll find. Or worse, what they won't. If anything else happens, I'll write again. If this post goes quiet, you'll know why.